This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, good morning. So today is third session of 19C free webinar series, DataGuard. Now today I will discuss about the parameters which we use in DataGuard configuration. So these are the parameters which are basic for primary database, and that you can set also for standby. And the first one is DB unique name, second log archive config, log archive destination state, archive lag target, and log archive trace. So let's start with one by one. So DB unique name basically specify a unique name for each database. So this is the parameter which differentiate your primary and standby. What does it mean? It means you can identify your primary and standby with unique name, because DB name will be same whatever standby you are creating for production database. In all standby database, DB name will be same. So how you will identify? So this is the parameter which tells that, okay, this is the primary and this is the standby. Okay, and this parameter is very important if you are converting the roles. Means if you are doing switch over, primary become standby, standby become primary. So in that this parameter is very useful. And every database DB unique name must be unique within the enterprise. And the value of DB unique name you can give up to 30 characters, and it is case sensitive. And you can use alphanumeric characters, underscore, number sign, and dollar sign. Okay, and this parameter you also use in DataGuard broker config file. So that is also there, but DB broker I am not discussing right now. So let's ignore that DataGuard broker. And yeah. So these are the description of this parameter. So syntax is like DB underscore unique underscore name equals to DB unique name, and the default value of your database instance name, and modifiable, no modifiable in PDB, no Oracle rack, multiple instance must have the same value. Okay, so now second parameter is log archive underscore config. It will specify the unique database name for each database and for sync instance in the configuration. So for sync is the new feature in 12c. So that is we will discuss later on. And it will enable or disable sending the receiving of a redo. And log archive config equals to dg underscore config equals to your name of this database unique name. And dg config attribute of this parameter you can set explicitly on each database, and you will set in a text string so that contains DB unique name of each database in the configuration, with each name in the list separated by a comma, as I already said that. And this is the way you can define that log underscore archive underscore config equals to, and also some other things is attached with the send, no send, receive, no receive, and etc. So that we will discuss in separate session. Only focus on log archive underscore config equals to dg underscore config, and then your unique names, whatever the standby you have. and default value is none. Modifiable yes by alter system. In PDB it is modifiable no. Now the third parameter is yeah, one important thing from v dollar data guard underscore config, the view where you can see the unique database name which you define with the parameter db unique name and log archive config initialization parameter, right? So you can check this view. So v dollar data guard underscore config. So you will fire select a star from v dollar data guard underscore config, you will get the unique name. And if you are saying if you are using SQL tool, so you can fire show parameter log underscore archive underscore config, then you will get the value of your unique name. Okay, so these are the two ways you can do that. And now come to the third parameter, log archive dest underscore n. So it will specify the redo which should be archived on the primary and standby. So log archive dest1, log archive dest2. So this is the way you can define that your archiving destination. And this is the things. So log archive dest1 to 31, and some attributes with that like mandatory, reopen, delay, encryption, no register, alternate, like that. So these we will discuss later on. And default value, there is no default value. And modifiable by alter session, by alter system, and modifiable in PDB no. So these are the things related to log archive test. And also from 12C we have 31 archive destination. Earlier it was 30. And the log archive dest n. So n means 1, 2, 3, 4. So if suppose there is an important point, if fast recovery area was configured, so we know that how we configured db recovery file dest parameter, and you have not explicitly configured local archive destination with the location attribute, Oracle data guard automatically use the log archive destination 1 initialization parameter as the default destination for local archiving, right? So this is important point. And also, as I said, it will specify for local archiving and standby database archiving and for sync instance. And you can include the attribute like location, service. So service basically give the net service name for referencing standby. So here log archive dest2 service equals to London. So London is the service name as well as unique name of the standby. So you can see the syntax is like that. And how you specifying role-based destination. So these are the two things, primary and standby. So on primary side, you are specifying log archive dest2 service equals to London. And then on a standby, you are specifying log archive dest2 service equals to Boston. So these are the service names. So when you will switch over or this, so on that time, this will plays an important role. And destination 1 to 31 do not support the sync archive location mandatory or alternate attributes, and cannot be specified the target of alternates attribute. So log archive dest 11 to 31 can only be used when you have compatible parameter is above 11.2 or higher. Okay, so please remember that. And yeah, now combination for valid, you see that valid, affirm, no affirm, async, sync, alternate. So these are the attributes. So right now only I'm putting valid for. So we have combination. If you have primary and physical, then you will give like this, all the values here: online log file, primary, on log file, standby, on log file, all rows. So these are the three combination, and these three combination is there. Then if you are using for a standby, so you have two combination, and if you are using all log files, you have three combinations. So like that you will configure for primary, physical, and logical, correct? Now, defining the redo transport mode. So as I said, sync, async. So sync, basically these parameters specify the network IO operations are to be performed synchronously or asynchronously when using LGWR, and async is the default value. And with that, you are assigning affirm, no affirm. So ensure that redo was successfully returned to disk on the standby destination. So no affirm is the default when async is specified, and affirm is the default when sync is specified in the log archive destination parameter. So there are many attributes, almost 20 to 22 for this log archive destination. So that we will discuss in next fourth session in my this data guard series. And fourth parameter is log archive dest state n. So whatever the states destinations you have, so that state parameter also. State means enable, disable the values. So if you see this, so you have enable, defer, alternate, reset. So enable means when by default its value is enable. If you want to disconnect the archiving, so you can put it defer, right? So by alter session, by alter system, you can do that. And PDB modifiable, no. And the fifth parameter is log archive lag target. Basically, it forces a log switch after the specified number of seconds, and in default value is 0, means disable, or you have values of 0 or any integer between 60 to 72,000. 7200, and multiple instance in rack should use the same values. And sixth parameter is log archive trace. Basically, it controls the output generated by the archiving process. So we should do this in data guard configuration, so that if any problem happens, you can check the trace file location, and you can open the trace file and you can check what is the problem, why archiving is not applying or not transferring. And this is the way you can do that. So here you have values 0, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, like that, and every values has different meanings, and it is modifiable by alter system command. In PDB it is not modifiable. In rack multiple instance you can have different values. Okay, and yep. So basically, one is high level tracing, second is tracks data guard interfaces, fourth is basically tracks common redo transport services, eighth is tracks database protection mode, and 16 track disk and network IO request, 32 basically tracks redo transport destination, 64 tracks redo transport archive engine, 128 tracks redo transport file parameter, and 256 track physical, logical, and availability machine clients of RFS process. 512 tracks redo transport of LGWR, sync, and async process. 1024 tracks redo transport RFS process, and 2048 tracks redo transport gap resolution. And 4096 is track real time apply. 8192 tracks recovery process. 16384 tracks redo transport buffer management. 32768 tracks log miner dictionary. So by these values you can trace your data guard things. Okay, and now these are the parameter also we need to set on the primary database as well as standby. So DB file name convert, log file name convert, standby file management, file server. So DB file name converts basically whatever database files is there, that you can define the path of here, and if suppose your directory structure is different, so you can define the different value in with the commas. And log file name, it will give the redo log file name. And standby file management, basically manual, and you can put in auto. It means suppose you are adding a data file on your production side, automatically it will add on your standby. And file server, basically it will fetch the gap if anything happens. Earlier file client also there, but now it is not used, only file server we can use. So how you can define that? So this is the way you can define that. Oracle 1 DBA, Oracle 1 is standby, Oracle 2 DBA, Oracle 2 is standby. And for log the DB file name convert, the syntax is like this. There is no default value. By alter session, by alter system, you can do that, modify that. And PDB modifiable, in PDB modifiable, no. And log file name convert, same way like Oracle 1 logs, Oracle standby logs. Okay, so log file name convert is very important parameter in switchover also. Whether you have different directory structure, that you need to must define that. But suppose if you have same directory structure, but for redo recovery in switchover, the parameter should be there. that is requirement. Excuse me. And log file name convert also, no default value, modifiable no, modifiable in PDB no. And you can define string 1 comma string 2 comma string 3 like that. And standby file management, as I said, it is used to maintain the consistency when you are adding or deleting a data file. So that is a very important parameter. If suppose you will not add on standby, and suppose you are enabling the data, adding a data file on production, so your redo will disconnect, apply services with a standby, and the data file will created with unnamed. So that and when you check redo is not applying, archiving is not applying, then you again enable that. So it will enable, but after some time it will again disable because of your data file is added on production. So what you will do, you will create the data file on the standby with same name which you will get in the trace file as well as alert log file. Then you can enable the standby management for auto, and then you can apply the redo services again by alter database manage this command. The full command is different, and then your redo applying or archiving will send to that location. Otherwise, every time if you enable redo apply, it will disconnect automatically. Because this issue face I recently in my environment, so that's why I'm telling. And this is the way by alter system you can modify a PDB modifiable no, value is default is manual, and it should be auto. And the file server, this parameter is very important, which is used to name of file archive log server, usually the primary database, and usually use only one database in the standby, and it should be created on both primary and standby. So suppose your Boston is the primary database, so in production side you will define file server London, and the London standby database you will define file server equals to Boston. What does it mean? Suppose on standby you have a gap, so from where it will fetch the archiving, so from Boston it will fetch the archive. And description, there is no default value by alter system, you can modify in PDB modifiable no. And these are the parameters which I discussed. So this is the way you can define in your environment. So here Boston is a primary and standby is London. So DB name Boston, DB unique name Boston, log archive config Boston London, control file log archive desk 2, For remote, so standby, this is the archive location for a standby, and destination to enable. File server, London, and standby file management auto, DB file name convert, Boston to London, Boston to London, like that. Okay, so thank you very much for attending this session. I hope this session is useful for you guys, and I will upload this session on my YouTube channel so you can check it. And the source is online documentation. And if you have anything, you can contact me by this link, and you can mail me by this mail ID. And you have any questions, you can write to me and I will reply. Okay, so thank you.